My babysitter got arrested at my house. Trust me when I say this, it made no sense why she got arrested, but I remember panicking and it was just not it. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba and welcome back to an insane story. So today's story all takes place back when I was in middle school, and funny enough, this was back when I was actually in grade 6. Yeah, in grade 6, I was just starting middle school and I didn't really pull girls at this time. I was more known for just playing video games and sitting in my room and, well, just learning how to beat my eggplant. But honestly, trust me when I say this, I was hitting puberty. And I remember back when I was in grade 6, one thing I found really cool was girls that were more in the darker side of things. I think many people understand the term bad girls and how they like bad girls. And I remember me back when I was in grade 6, I thought bad girls were cool. Like, for example, girls that would, yell on Call of Duty and, be basically swearing at other people. I found that kind of attractive. I don't know why. Maybe I was just being a weird kid back then, but I don't know. It's just something that was a part of me, I guess. I remember one time back when I was in grade 6, I was heading home from school and I was actually heading home with a group of friends. Now, me and my group of friends, we were all, massive gamers. We all really didn't focus on girls at the time. So I remember all of us, we'd actually decide to head over back to my place and basically all play a new game that released on the Wii U. If you guys don't know, the Wii U was released back when I was in grade 6, and honestly, everyone loved it. And I remember, especially me, being in grade 6, I thought the Wii U was something insane. Obviously, now it's considered one of the worst consoles ever, but I remember there was one game on there that a lot of us all played, and it was Smash Bros. And me and my friends, we loved playing Smash Bros. I know that sounds weird for me saying Smash Bros in the same sentence and not making it sus, but at the same time, just hear me out. Anyways, I remember when we all walked through my front door and went straight to my Wii U to play Smash Brothers, my mom ended up coming up to me and saying, "Bubba, can I pull you aside for a second?" Yeah, mom, what's up? Bubba, me and your dad are leaving for a bit. What time are your friends planning on leaving? They're probably gonna leave like an hour or two. We're just gonna play a couple rounds. Why? Okay, well, after they leave, your babysitter's gonna be here right away, and we're leaving right now. Wait, why are you guys leaving right now? Is it an emergency? Yes, it's a big emergency, and we just need to leave. At this time, I guess some family stuff was going on, and my parents, since I was really young, they didn't want me to get familiar with it, because obviously they just want me to be a happy kid like usual. And I remember I ended up going up to my friends saying how they had to leave a bit sooner and all this stuff, and basically after like the 1 hour mark of us playing games, we hear a doorbell ring. Now, when we heard this doorbell ring, me and all the guys, we all ended up basically thinking it was one of the parents, so we all headed straight for the door to basically get my friends picked up and head home. But right as we answer the door, I am not joking when I say this, we see a girl in all black looking like a goth girl basically walk into my house. Now, all my friends were ultimately terrified, but me, I'm not gonna lie to you, I found her somewhat hot. I don't know why. It was really weird for me to think that, but at the same time, like I said earlier, I think I had like a thing for bad girls back then. And going on with the story, I remember basically she walked in and said, okay, the parents said there was only supposed to be one kid here. Why are there like 5 of you? Oh, I'm the kid you're supposed to be taken care of. Sorry, my friends were just over. Tell them to leave right now. I remember when she said that, all my friends just instantly headed for the door. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this new babysitter was becoming the boss of the house. Me, at this time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't want to disobey her because this girl looked like she would actually punch a child. Like, I am not joking when I say this. I should not be saying this. YouTube, don't demonetize this when I say this. But this girl looks like she would harm children. So I remember I started kind of like panicking and all my friends left, and me, I instantly went upstairs and basically started hiding in my bedroom because I didn't know what this babysitter was gonna do to me. She was terrifying. But obviously this babysitter ended up actually coming up the stairs and looking at me saying, "Why are you hiding? Come downstairs right now. I'm just gonna feed you something real quick, you little rat." Rat? Little rat? Wait, just because I'm hiding under my bed, it doesn't make me a rat, is what I told her afterwards. And yeah, no, she didn't like that. She ended up grabbing me by the wrist and actually dragging me downstairs and made me sit in the kitchen table and basically made me wait as she was making the dinner for me. It blew my mind how some people, even though they really hate children, want to be babysitters. Like, are you that desperate for money that you want to take care of me and treat me like garbage but still take my parents' money? So I ultimately start panicking and I start worrying, and honestly, the more and more I stressed out, I didn't know what in the world was going on. Anyways, I remember basically this babysitter ended up feeding me, and I will say this, she ended up sitting down right in front of me, and all she did was go on her phone. She went on her phone and stuff, and then she ended up getting a phone call. Now, I'm gonna say this, when your ringtone is something from AC/DC, especially TNT, it's actually kind of terrifying. But basically, I remember this babysitter got a phone call, and out of nowhere, she ended up getting up and basically walking away saying, "Yeah, are you like bringing the stash here? Like, hurry up." Now, when she said stash, the only stash I've ever heard of back when I was in grade 6 was either pubic stash or mustache. So the fact that she said stash made me worry because I didn't know what that was. And I think I've played enough Call of Duty to understand that stashes are usually not a good thing unless it's ammo for a reload. So I started panicking, and at the the same time, I really wanted to get a hold of my parents. I remember I ended up basically leaving the dinner table as she was away from the table as well on the phone call, and I started heading upstairs to my bedroom. When I got there, I instantly pulled out my iPad and I basically started like, trying to message my mom over iMessage. But right away, right as I was on my iPad messaging my mom, this babysitter ends up walking in saying, "Where'd you go? Why'd you leave like that? Who do you think you are?" I'm just, texting my friends. She grabs my iPad and sees that the top of the message board was mommy, and she says, "Baba, you're not supposed to text your mom. I'm supposed to be taking care of you. I'm supposed to be your new mother. What are you on?" Honestly, this girl did not seem like anything smart or safe whatsoever for, well, a babysitter. But that's not even where things get worse, because I remember what happens next, I gotta say, was super illegal. Because I remember I ended up heading downstairs, and out of nowhere, I ended up hearing someone pull up to my driveway right as I went down the steps. I ended up kind of like trying to figure out and look through the front door window to see who it was. But out of nowhere, I remember my babysitter ends up grabbing me by the neck and looks at me and says, "Baba, I'm gonna actually need you to go back upstairs to your room. You want me to go to my room again? Yeah, just go up to your room for like 5 minutes. Trust me, it won't be anything." I ended up going upstairs, and right away, I ended up seeing from my front window of my bedroom that someone was in like a really like black scary car that was like all tinted out. And basically a person came out that had like tattoos all over his arms. He wasn't like jacked or anything. It was just a skinny guy with tattoos. Ended up walking up to my front of my house and dropping something off and leaving right away. I started panicking, thinking, yo, what is going on in my house right now? Like, where did my parents get this babysitter? And then that's when it happened. I remember the babysitter ended up calling me downstairs saying, "Bubba, come down right now, you little rat." And I ended up heading downstairs, and when I got there, she was holding a bag of sugar. I'm not gonna say exactly what, because YouTube monetization, but if you guys don't know what the devil's sugar is, then you're probably too young to be watching this channel. I remember from there, I basically ended up like, following her around the house and stuff, and she ended up taking this bag to a bathroom, and then she ended up coming out with the bag being gone. At this point, I went to the bathroom right after her, and I saw that my bathroom counter, well, I'm gonna say this, it was a little dirty with some white stuff on it that let's just say, don't want to get into because YouTube monetization, but let's just say, yes, there was some sort of substance in my house. Now, I didn't know anything about, substances and all the bad stuff back when I was a kid, but out of nowhere, I remember watching my babysitter, and she seemed like she was more energized than she usually was, and she had a bigger smile on her face for some reason. I found this very odd and stuff, but honestly, I just kind of like decided just to obey her because I didn't know what was gonna happen. At this point, I felt super unsafe in my own house, and no kid should ever have to feel like that. Going on with the story, I remember right after that whole situation happened, I ended up sitting down in my living room, and me and her, we actually ended up watching a movie together. Obviously, I wanted to watch some action movie that was super cool, probably like James Bond or something, but she wanted to watch a horror movie. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, in my house, we were not allowed to watch horror movies, but the fact that this girl wanted to, my babysitter, my mind was blown. I remember me and her were watching this movie together, and we were watching this horror movie, and out of nowhere, the most craziest thing happened where I ended up hearing a hard knock on the door. Like, it sounded like a very serious knock that only an angry person would. And me at this time, I started getting terrified because one, I just watched a horror movie about a bunch of people getting like, murdered in a house. And two, I was thinking that probably the guy that was here earlier, the big, scary, tall, Slenderman, tattooed looking dude, was going to come and basically was going to, break in my house. So I started panicking even more, and I started actually running upstairs and hiding into my bedroom. And right as you know it, I ended up hearing cop sirens turn on right as they were knocking. Now, I recognize cop sirens from anywhere. Back when I was a kid, I played Grand Theft Auto 5. So instantly at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm safe. The police are here. I ended up opening my front door. And when I opened it, I saw cops swarming in, and all of them I thought were after me. So I put my hands up and went on my knees right away. And the only reason I went on my knees was because in Grand Theft Auto, they always tell you to go on your knees. But they ended up all passing me and looking at me really weirdly and ended up arresting my babysitter. I have no idea why. I was so weirded out and trying to figure out what was going on. But my babysitter got arrested and basically ended up getting escorted out of the house. And I remember one of the cops came up to me and asked, "Hey son, where's your parents at?" "My parents aren't here. They left me with the babysitter that's in handcuffs right now." "Well, your babysitter's done some very bad things, making deals of bad things. So either you call a parent that can come take care of you, or we will drop you off anywhere you like." When they said drop me off wherever I liked, I ended up driving over to my friend's house and explaining to his parents the whole situation. And yeah, let's just say my parents got a big talking to about hiring the right babysitter. But at the same time, what can I say? My babysitter literally got arrested. Like, what was I supposed to do? Now, every time I tell one of these stories, I always have to be careful of things like, for example, saying names to, describing someone too much to the point where people can realize who they are. And honestly, it's one of the most freakiest things, because the story I'm about to tell you guys is honestly insane. And if you guys do stick around to watch this whole thing, just please leave a like and subscribe. You guys haven't already. It means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, right now, currently, as we speak, I am live on Twitch. So if you guys do want to go watch me live and and talk to me about any questions or anything about this video, then go for it. But other than that, let's get straight into the video. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So today's story is actually something that happened to me when I was blowing up on the internet. Yes, I had a blow up stage when I was telling these stories. It was back last year, July, and I remember all I was doing was posting stories back to back to back on my TikTok page. It got to the point where you got over 200 million views in 1 month. 1 damn month. That is literally insane, and I thank you guys for that always. I remember back when I was blowing up on TikTok and stuff, I remember I posted a video about, well, a story time that I did. And this story is really close and pretty recent to my main life, but honestly, it was one of the most weirdest stories. Because let's just say it had something to do with my older sister and her best friend. I guess you guys can kind of get where I'm going at with that. Obviously, yes, the word Devil's Tango was in the story. I can't say the story right now, but honestly, if you guys do smash that like button right now, I might do a story time where I actually tell the story in the most secretive way possible. We'll see if I can pull it off, but like I said, if this video reaches 2,000 likes, maybe I'll do it. Anyways, like I was saying, this was last year and I was blowing up on the internet. And I remember every video I posted on TikTok got over 1 million views. It was the most insane thing ever, and I literally freaked out. I went from having 90,000 followers to over 1 million in a span of 1 month. So you guys can kind of understand how crazy that is. Knowing how fast a person blows up on the internet is honestly kind of terrifying. Anyways, I remember one time after posting a story time about, you know, my sister and her best friend, I always like used to live stream right away. So I would go on my phone, go on TikTok live, and go live. And when I would go live, I would have over thousands of people join in. And I remember I would stream on Twitch telling everyone to go in and join the Twitch stream, which I'm actually streaming on live right now, if you guys didn't know that. And basically everyone would join in. I was live just streaming, enjoying my time, talking to you guys, and basically communicating with you guys. But then the craziest of the crazy happened. I remember my mom decided to come over to my place because I recently moved into a penthouse. Anyways, my mom came over and she took care of me. She usually does this a lot, especially when I moved out, because she always wants to, like, you know, support me and be there for me, which I love you, mom. Thank you for that. Anyways, going on though, I remember I was just live and she came to my place. She knew I was live because, you know, if she hears me yelling in the microphone really loud, she knows not to come in my room or my office room. Yeah, room. I don't care. Anyways, going on. Anyways, I was live on 2 platforms. I remember I was literally getting text messages from my sister. She was texting me back to back saying, oh my goodness, like, we're in so much trouble. Oh my goodness, what did you do? You cannot be posting that story. Oh my goodness, there's no way you post that story. And in my head, I'm thinking, why would she text me that? Like, what is going on? Is everything okay? Going on, I remember I was still playing and an hour went by. I was about to end stream, and before I ended stream, my mom comes into my room. Now, knowing my mom came into my room as I was streaming is something that's a rare occasion. But she came into my room saying, Bubba, there's people at the door for you. I was like, who is at my place? I never told anyone about my new place. I didn't say anything about my new place, so it's pretty weird how someone found my place. So I remember what I ended up doing was I ended up literally leaving my setup, saying I'm going to the bathroom, and when I left, I went to my door. And when I went to my door, I realized that there were 2 cops literally standing at the door. When I saw that, I said, hey, officers, give me 1 second. I gotta go do something. I went back to my streaming room, or my office, I should say, and basically turned off my live stream. I said, guys, I gotta go. I ended off the live stream, and I went back to the front door. When I went there, they literally talked to me saying, are you, Bubba Streams? And I said, yeah, like, what's going on? It's anything I can help you guys officers with? I wasn't panicking because I was like 20, which was last year, so it wasn't a big deal. They were explaining to me how, oh, like, basically there was a person, saying that you were harassing them online. What? I was harassing a person online? How does that work? How did I harass someone online? What? In my head, I'm thinking that someone made up something or someone lied about something. And then they told me, yeah, they're waiting at the station right now, and we're gonna have to bring you in. What? You're telling me I'm getting arrested after literally live streaming to like thousands of people, and you're telling me I'm getting arrested now? Like, that is honestly insane. And I remember I was kind of like panicking because I'm not used to getting arrested. Like, hell, it was not a normal thing for me to do. Going on though, I remember they arrested me and basically got the full-on arrest. I went to the police car. I was in the back of the police car, which is super uncomfortable. And I remember on the way there, they were talking to me. They were saying, wait, so why did you have to like leave before you can come to us and talk to us? What were you going to your room for? And I told them like, oh, like I'm a YouTuber, like I record videos and I tell stories about my life and all that. I was basically explaining to them what my job was, because let's be real here, being a YouTuber, and especially my hometown Vancouver, it's not common. And they said, oh, that's very interesting, that's pretty cool, so you just tell stories about life and stuff? Obviously I said yes, because I'm not gonna tell a cop saying, hey, yeah, I tell stories about how I do the Devil's Tango like every like second day. Like, hell no, I'm not gonna tell a cop that. Anyways, going on, I remember the cop ended up like, you know, opening the door, and we were at the station, and I remember as I walked in there, I went to like this interrogation room. At first I was by myself, and obviously you know, they let me use my phone and stuff, so I remember calling my parents saying, hey, I need a lawyer set up, I need all this because I don't know what this is about. Afterwards, I ended up calling my older sister, and she called me saying, hey, like, are you at the police station? And I was was like, yeah, like, why are you telling me that? And then she told me, yeah, so, the person you made the story on is suing you. What? And as that was said, my sister came into the interrogation room, literally in the same room with me. And literally out of nowhere, another person walks in, and it was literally the person I did the story on. The person I said me and her did the devil's tango. And it was super awkward seeing her walk in, sit down with a lawyer behind her saying, I can't believe you, Bubba. You really made a story on me. How could you? Bruh, what? I was so confused. And knowing that this girl was literally sitting right in front of me, my sister was right beside me, and seeing there was cops surrounding the room and everything, I felt like I was in serious trouble. Who knew telling stories could take you in such deep lengths of trouble? Like, honestly, I didn't know that, but I still tell them because, hell, it's my story to tell. But going on, I remember I was kind of panicking, and I was kind of just like freaking out saying like, so like, what's the conflict here? Like, what's going on? And I remember the cop looking at me saying, well, basically, you've been harassing her online. I look at my sister, I look at the cop, and I'm like, how in the world was I harassing you online? And then her lawyer said, apparently, Mr. Bubba, you were sending your audience to go harass her. What? I didn't send my audience anywhere. Guys, in no way would I ever send any of my audience or anyone that watches me to go hate on someone else. It makes no sense for me to do that. And I remember I ended up telling him I did not say anything or sent anyone to hate on anyone. And then afterwards, once I said that, the girl that, you know, I did the devil's tango with that was suing me literally opened her phone right in front of me and showed me her Facebook messages. And apparently over 100 of you guys went in her messages and started spamming her, harassing her, saying, oh my goodness, like, I can't believe you did that, and all that crazy stuff. As we were looking through the messages, I realized that my audience was powerful, which I am thankful to this day. But at the same time, not for bad use. Let's be good people. Hello, come on. We gotta be good on the internet or I'm gonna get banned. But no, I remember I was talking to them like, hey, like what do you want me to do? Like, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Like, what do you want me to do about this? The girl ended up saying, well, one, I want you to say the story's fake, because if you don't say it's fake, then seriously, people are gonna realize that like this is a big deal. And I said, I'm not gonna tell like over 2 million people that my stories are fake. My stories aren't fake. I don't like faking stories. It's just not my thing. And then her lawyer said, well, at least take down the story. Now, this story was doing really good on TikTok. It had over 1.8 million views at this point, and I did not want to take it down. And I said, there's no way I'm taking down the story because it like has nothing to do with you. I don't even know how people found out it was you, because I don't even say your name. I don't say anything. And as you guys look at these stories and realize that, you guys can even check yourselves, I never say a name in any story. They look on my phone and they scroll through my TikTok and they scroll through all my YouTube videos and everything, and they saw I don't say names. So at this point, they can't really hold me for anything or sue me for anything. But one question I had to figure out was, how in the world did people find out this was the girl and actually got it right? So I remember I ended up asking her, I was like, hey, so you want to tell me how people found out that you were the one? And she looked at me kind of weird, and she like looked at like the cops kind of weird, and she started like freaking out. At this point, I knew she was lying about something. So I asked her again. I said, so you want to tell me how 1,000 people know that it was you that I ended up doing the devil's tango with? She ended up saying, well, like I scrolled through the comic section and like I just said like, oh, this story's about me. Oh my OMG. And people started harassing me. Bruh. So you're telling me that you're suing me for over $20,000 damn dollars because you went in my TikTok chat, said you were the chick I ended up doing the devil's tango with, and now you're telling me that since you're getting harassed by those kids, you want to blame me for it? Unreal. I remember that moment I was laughing, and I'm not gonna lie, the cop behind me was kind of chuckling because he thought this is the most dumbest thing I've ever seen. But at the same time, not many cops deal with YouTubers around here because not many YouTubers in Vancouver. And I remember we were all kind of just looking around and stuff, and I got to the point where I said to my lawyer, this is a joke. There is no way you guys are gonna hold me on anything, and if you really want to take this to court, I don't mind because I already know I'm gonna win this. Her lawyer looked at me and my lawyer, and they, you know, the lawyer's not dumb. He knows that they don't really have a case on their hands. So out of good favor and out of me being nice, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did feel kind of bad. Knowing how many people were harassing this girl after the story time was a pretty big deal to me. And I basically said to her, listen, I understand the story was a big deal for you, so I will take it down. But next time, don't go in my comment section. Don't say anything because it's better not to. And just stay away from my pages. She agreed and my lawyer agreed and everyone was just, you know, in agreement. And I remember I ended up going home and that was basically it. Honestly, lesson learned today is, guys, that my stories are real. I go through many crazy things when I tell these stories. And honestly, I always fact check them to make sure I don't get in trouble. And I seriously love you guys. And like I said, I am live streaming right now on Twitch. So go follow me right there and go watch me and ask me any questions about the story. Like, I remember back when I was in high school, I thought I would never get arrested and that I would just be a good boy that, you know, never got into any trouble and just kind of pave my own way to victory. When in reality, in high school, you're going to go through a bunch of jumps and, you know, bubbles that you don't want to be in. And let's just say one led me to be getting arrested. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy but super embarrassing story. So this story all takes place back in my high school year, funny enough, and this was actually my grade 12 year. Now, in my grade 12 year, one thing I can say is that as time was continuing on, and as, you know, the high school years were going by, I always felt this, like, emptiness in my stomach. And no, it's not the emptiness of love. If I wanted to say that, then it would be near my heart that had the emptiness, but in reality, it was actually my stomach, or I guess my mind, I should say, because as you're reaching your grade 12 year when you're younger, and especially if you guys feel this, comment down below, but I started to feel a way that I felt like I didn't finish everything I wanted to do. Even now, since I'm 24, I still feel like I didn't complete everything I've ever wanted to do, but still, overall, I will say that it became a point where I really wanted to, like, figure out what that thing is and try to make sure that I was gonna graduate high school doing everything that I wanted to do. And no, I don't just mean doing the devil's tango with women. Anyways, I remember one time I was hanging with my buddy Charlie, and me and him were just sitting in the school cafeteria together. And as we're sitting in the cafeteria, I remember my buddy like looks at me and he's like, "Yo, Bubba, check this out." And he ends up showing me something he got from the mall. And what he ended up showing me was something I didn't really recognize until he had to explain it to me. But basically, he told me, "Yo, Bubba, do you know what these are?" No, not really. What is it? "Bubba, you don't know what this is?" "No. Why?" "Huh. I always knew you were super innocent." I didn't know what he was talking about until he actually explained to me that these like weird device that he was showing me that he got from the mall was actually one of those security tags that people put on clothing. Now, I don't know how often you guys go to the mall, but basically in the mall, if you like go inside and you like go to like the clothing section where most expensive clothing brands are, sometimes have these. There's like these little like tags they put on them just so like, you know, when they walk through like security and stuff. So when you walk through those like weird metal detectors by the entrance of like the mall or the store that you're in, they go off and warn, you know, the other store workers that someone's stealing. I remember I looked at him and I'm like, wait a minute. If these are supposed to tell you that someone's stealing, how'd you get this? "I don't know. Apparently this one's broken, but it never went off when I stole a bunch of clothing." "Wait a minute. You stole a bunch of clothing?" "Yeah. My parents don't really buy me clothes, so I thought, why not just steal it?" "Wait, seriously? Like you just stole like a bunch of clothing?" I found this odd because growing up, I never found the purpose to steal. Like, I get it. It sucks that sometimes you can't afford something, but stealing it could lead to a lot of trouble. Don't steal. Seriously. Anyways, my buddy Charlie afterwards, he ended up explaining how, you know, stealing is a good thing to me though. So I remember when I told him, "Dude, like, what's the point of stealing though?" He ended up giving me his reason, and this is a kind of a dumb reason, but at the same time, like, I guess it makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna be the guy to be like, "Oh, that makes no sense. Never do this." But what he told me was, "Well, Bubba, these companies are like multi-billion-dollar companies. They're not gonna care about one single shirt or one single pants." "Oh, okay. So like you only steal like once in a while, right, Charlie?" "Oh, no, my whole outfit's stolen. I've stolen like clothes like the last 7 days, but you know, it doesn't matter." In my mind, I'm thinking, doesn't that add up? Like, you know, you're stealing just one shirt. In reality, you stole like your entire clothing, like your whole closet's just a bunch of stolen clothes. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb in my opinion. So I remember after he told me that, I thought this was a good moment to like, you know, basically give some wisdom like a Master Yoda, and told him that, you know, stealing's not a good thing and there's no point of stealing, until he told me there's an addiction and there's a thrill that you get doing it. It gives you like excitement. And he kept going on and on about this, trying to justify him stealing, but in reality, I wasn't really falling for it until I went to the mall that day. I remember after school came and I went to the mall, and when I went to the mall, I ended up seeing Charlie, funny enough, coming out of the Gucci store. And when I saw Charlie walk out of this Gucci store, he was holding a bag that said Gucci on it. So in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, there's no way he stole from the Gucci store. I walked up to him and I'm like, "Hey, Charlie, like, what's going on?" "Oh, I just got this awesome shirt. You want to see?" "Oh, yeah, let me see what you bought." "Bought." You're funny, Bubba. "What, you didn't buy it?" "No, I just asked for a bag. Then I ended up saying I want to go try something on. I put on the clothing, and then afterwards I just try it, see if I like it. Then I put it in the bag that they gave me, and then I just walk out." Seriously, it's that simple? Like, it's that simple? Like, seriously? I don't know. Once again, I don't agree with stealing, but there's no way it was that easy. So I ended up telling him that, saying there's no way it's that easy to steal clothing, until he ended up telling me to try it. So me and my buddy, we ended up going to a store called H&M. Now, H&M, please don't sue me. This was back like a long time ago, and to be fair, I did get in trouble and pay for the clothing that I stole. So, you know, yeah, you can tell where this is going. But anyways, I remember me and my buddy, we ended up going inside H&M and we ended up trying on some clothes. I ended up trying on just a t-shirt, but this t-shirt was no ordinary t-shirt. H&M likes to do these funny collabs that are like really weird and stuff. And I remember this one has like Elmo, but with X's across his face. I don't know. I think they're called Cause, the brand. I'm not really sure. But basically, I ended up seeing this shirt and I thought it was pretty cool. So I ended up putting it on and I was like, oh, this looks pretty nice. I like this. So when I said that, my buddy Charlie's like, okay, here, let me go get you a bag. He ends up going to the
front asking the store for a bag. And since the store thought he was like some loyal customer, they ended up giving him a bag, which to be fair, he is a loyal customer. He's just not actually a customer. And he ends up walking over to me with this bag saying, here, just take this to the change room with you and just say you want to try it on one more time. And then, yeah, you should be good. Just put it in there and walk out. Wait, seriously? It's that easy? Dude, just trust me, bro. So I ended up basically walking into the change room. I said I want to try on one piece of clothing. I go inside, I come back out. And since the store was busy that day, they weren't really keeping track on like who's what or, you know, how many pieces of clothing are actually going in and out. So I ended up going inside the change room, put it in the bag, walk out again, and yeah, that's basically it. I just walked out with, you know, a piece of clothing that's in a bag that I didn't pay for. And then I ended up walking out with Charlie. Yeah. We actually just full on walked out. And I remember in my mind, like just before I walked through those doors to like basically hope that the alarm didn't sound, it kind of gave me a thrill. I don't know what it is, but when it comes to stealing, it's like some sort of like crazy thrill that you get. Like it's actually kind of addicting. I can see why people steal, and I can see why, you know, stealing is a thing that many people do, which don't steal. Once again, it's not fun. But after me and Charlie stole from the H&M store, I got really excited and we started doing it at other stores, to the point where I remember we literally had 7 bags from different 7 stores that had stuff in it that we didn't pay for. I remember from there, me and Charlie ended up going back to my place, and we ended up basically, you know, going through all the clothing we got. And it was really funny too, because my mom ends up walking in to my room, and she ends up seeing that I have like a bunch of like new clothes. And my mom's like, Bubba, you should have told me you were going clothing shopping. Oh no, it's okay, Mom. Me and Charlie just decided to go shopping. Oh, okay. Do you have the receipt? Oh, they forgot the receipt, Mom. From 7 different stores? Yeah, Mom. Darn, I totally forgot. And from there, I remember my mom just kind of walks out, totally confused. But to be fair, like, what kind of teenager doesn't lie to their mom? I'm gonna be brutally honest here. And that's not even the craziest part, because I remember right after, me and Charlie were even planning on trying to steal more the next day. Because I remember the next day, I decided to wear my new shoes that I stole, my new shirt, and new pants that I bought. Sorry, I kind of stole everything at this point. And when I walked into school, I remember a lot of my friends were like coming up to me wondering, you know, when did I change my outfit? Because back when I was in high school, especially my grade 12 year, I always wear the same 7 fits that I wore every single time, because I'd never found a point to go to shopping and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess nowadays kids are so focused on, you know, wearing the right drip and stuff. But for me back in high school, I never really cared. I kind of wore the same casual clothing that I still wear it to this day. And I remember my friend Cole ends up walking up to me saying, yo, Bubba, you know that shirt's like worth like $200, right? Oh, yeah, I know. I knew that. When did you like start caring about like designer clothing and stuff? Oh, you know, I just ended up, you know, deciding to do some shopping, stuff like that. I ended up stuttering because I didn't really know like what to tell him. Like I didn't want to tell people that I stole clothes. But then afterwards, I remember me and Charlie, we ended up going to our first class. And when we got inside, I remember the announcements came on out of nowhere saying, Bubba, can you please come to the office? Thank you. I remember I heard this announcement and I got really confused, because I'm like, why would the office be calling me out of like anybody? Like that makes no sense, to the point where I ended up just ignoring it. I know you can't really ignore the announcements, but I mean, technically speaking, you can, because if it's like calling someone else's name, most of the school won't care if you do something about it or not. At least in my school, they didn't care. I don't know. Comment down below if your school did, but my parents definitely did not care. And since I ignored the announcements, I want to say 20 minutes later was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. Because as I'm like sitting there finishing my assignment, 2 cops just come into the classroom and they're saying my name, my full government name, saying, all right, so which one of you guys' name is Bubba? I remember my whole school just ends up looking at me, and instantly the cops knew who I was, because everyone turned their head right to me. And he ends up walking up to me and saying, all right, son, stand up, hands behind your back where I can see him. I remember panicking and my heart dropped to my stomach, and I'm looking at this cop saying, wait, why am I getting arrested? And he ends up looking at me and he's like, you really don't know, huh? No. Why am I getting arrested? Huh, nice shirt you're wearing, Bubba. And then afterwards, when he said that, I instantly knew it was because of stealing. He ends up arresting me, and I remember my crush that was in the same classroom as me ends up looking at me as if I was some sort of bad boy. Like, I don't know. I was about to kind of like look at her in like a really awkward, cool way, where it seemed like it was one of those like cool TikTok edits to see if like it would woo her. But at the same time, I don't know. I was panicking too much to really care. To be honest, it went more like, oh, like, please don't arrest me. Like, oh my goodness, like I mean it. Like, I didn't mean it. Instead of me, you know, acting like a true bad boy. Yeah. I got arrested. I ended up going to the back of a cop car, and I ended up getting driven to the station. Did I actually get put into a jail cell? No, because I wasn't actually full on arrested, since the store never cares to actually charge kids that steal, which still doesn't mean you should go steal, but still. It kind of got to the point where my parents came, picked me up after sitting in the checking room of the police station, and basically my parents ended up getting fined with $280. That's basically the amount of clothing that I stole that day. My parents were really upset, obviously, at me, and they got really mad, but at the same time, like, I don't know. Was I proud to steal? Definitely not. Was it awkward to get arrested in front of my whole class? Definitely was the worst part of it, not the stealing part. Would I still steal to this day? No. But if you guys have ever stolen something, click on one of the videos on screen and subscribe for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.